Hi, my name's Philip. I'm a driving instructor along the south coast of England, and I'd like to welcome to my YouTube channel. Before we start, I'd like to introduce two websites that I've got. The first is called teachingothers2drive.co.uk. This website is aimed at parents or partners that are teaching their children or loved ones to drive. The second website is my working website, and it's learntodrivewithalpha.co.uk. So if you're Portsmouth area based and would like to learn with me, then that's where you'll find all the information to make contact with me. So in today's video, I'd like to talk about 10 things you should consider before you start driving lessons. It's not the definitive list, there are more bits, but these are what I thought are 10 sort of poignant things to sort of get straight before you even sort of ring somebody to talk about lessons. So number one, do your theory test before you start learning to drive. So why do we want to do that? You can start to drive before passing your theory. The advantage of doing your theory first is that it's out of the way. It's valid for 2 years once you've done it, so therefore you've got no other barrier holding you up from doing your practical test other than the learning to drive and control the car. The second reason is you'll be able to recognise your road signs, your speed limits, your road junctions, your give-way lines, your stop lines, what the road markings mean in the middle of the road, all of which will give you an advantage rather than learning on the move. So that's the first thing. Also, the theory is the single biggest nag that I have to do all the way through somebody's learning to drive. Have you booked your theory yet? Have you booked your theory yet? Every lesson, have you booked your theory? So you're just saving yourself a lot of time, and it also says I'm serious about learning to drive because I've already got my theory out of the way. Point number two, ask a friend or friends if they can recommend anybody. Rather than just Google it or ring somebody up out of the phone book, see who has taught your friends and what they've thought of them. Recommendation is really worth its weight in gold. Number three, cheap is not always the best. So don't think that, oh, what's the cheapest price, that'll do. Cheap often means that you're going to end up doing more lessons, costing you more money in the long run. You want a good instructor that will balance your training, get the best out of you, use different training techniques to learn what's responding to you, so that you can then you're able to sort of learn quickly with them. And this is why that recommendation from your friends is so important. Number four, what sort of car do I want to drive in? So is it manual or is it automatic? The advantage of manual is that if you pass in a manual, you will be able to drive an automatic. If you do your lessons in an automatic and pass in an automatic, you will only be able to drive an automatic, never a manual. It's horses for courses, it's whatever you prefer. I teach manual, and I only ever recommend somebody for an automatic if they truly struggle after a number of lessons. But I believe anybody can learn to drive in a manual. It's just some people, particularly if they're over here doing a uni course or whatever, in their own country, often manual is hardly ever heard of, and it's generally automatic. So there's those things to bear in mind. What length do I want my lessons to be? So an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Now the one benefit to an hour is obviously, it's more affordable. However, what do you get achieved in an hour? Are you always being taken to the same areas because you can't get very far in an hour? And ask yourself, what are you, endurance wise, what are you building up? If you only ever drive for an hour, psychologically you're saying to yourself, oh, after an hour that's it, I can't drive anymore. Most customers of mine either do an hour and a half or 2 hours. That gives us time to get up through the city, so we are able to get into different areas so that you get used to different roads, different conditions, that sort of thing. So bear that in mind. You know, try a 2 hour lesson, try an hour and a half lesson, try an hour lesson, see what works best for you, but do vary it up, don't just stick with hours. What do I want to do on my driving lessons? When do I want to do my driving lessons? So if you always do your driving lesson on the same day at the same time, you're only ever really going to hit the same sort of road conditions. During the course of your driving, you want to get at least a couple of lessons in the dark. You want to get a couple of rush hour lessons in so that you get some experience with dealing with that sort of traffic. And you know, some afternoons, some mornings. So vary it up a little bit so that you've got some other experience. Where am I going to do my driving lesson? So this picks up from the length of the lesson point. Variety is good. You need to go on different roads in different places. So if your instructor is constantly just keeping you to one area and that's all you do every single lesson, you're not gaining experience of other roads, other road types, other types of junctions. You're getting very confident with a little area. What happens on test day when you're nowhere near what you're used to? So it must be varied. If you're a smoker, don't ask to stop during a lesson for a cigarette break, and don't let the instructor talk you into doing it either. You're paying for that time. Why would you want to pay £5 for a 5-10 minute break to have a cigarette? You know, hold on. You know, if you're on an hour and a half lesson, surely you can hold off for an hour and a half, but it's your time, you're paying for it. So use it for driving. Number 9, what car? So it's not a question I get asked often, but I do get asked sometimes, what car do you teach in? Well, you want a small to medium car, you know, Corsa, Clio, Ford Fiesta, that type of car. Something that's going to be similar to what you're going to be able to afford once you've passed yourself. You know, there's one national company teaching, they teach in either Audi A3s or Audi Q3s. These are big monstrous cars, and not something that you're going to be using necessarily as your first, second or ever. So you want to learn in something that you are going to be able to drive in. And number 10, only start when you've got the finances in place to see it all through. Start stopping is no good. It holds you up. You have to take a couple of extra lessons each time you restart to get yourself back up to where you were before. So you really need to make sure that everything is in place. You've got the money, you can definitely see it through. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll see if I can pick them up. If you've got any ideas for other videos you'd like to see, then by all means, again, leave those in the comments. I'm always looking for ideas. And thank you very much for watching.